Now welcome to another lightning response video, where this time we got a couple questions, and we'll start it with this one from Chaotic Yak, who asked, "Hey Thor, do you think that this leak might have been a deliberate testing of the waters to see what the reaction would be to more Rey films? I mean, they already pushed the Rey movie down the road in favor of Mando. They can't be blind to what has been successful. Regardless, I have zero interest in a trilogy based on Rey. I found her bland in The Force Awakens, and I know I wouldn't bother watching a new trilogy focused on her. She already got a trilogy, and it wasn't good." And I certainly do think that from time to time, these leaks and rumors that we hear coming out of Lucasfilm are intentionally leaked in order to, as you say, test the waters or gauge audience or fan reaction to an idea you may have before committing hundreds of millions of dollars potentially to a project that they are going to reject out of hand or reject immediately or just won't make money in the long run. That said, I don't know if that is the case with this big announcement we heard, or it's really not even an announcement. It was an anonymous leak from inside Lucasfilm that the Hollywood Reporter had an article on, so it tends to imply it's probably a legit leak, not, the random YouTuber who says, "I have a secret source and this is what they said." This seems like it's probably legit, that as the article says, or as this insider at Lucasfilm says, that they feel like Rey is the only real asset they have at this point, which I don't agree with. I think the Star Wars property could create a new asset, and that's what they should do. But to stay on point, they believe that Rey is the only thing they really have going for them right now, and thus are going to feature her in many projects going forward. And I do think, as crazy as that may sound to us who don't like Rey or weren't fans of the sequels or want to see them just go in a whole other direction or retcon the sequels, whatever it might be, that may sound ridiculous, but I think that's actually the direction they're going to go in. And I say that because I fully believe, and I've discussed this before, I think Kathleen Kennedy wants more than anything else to make this character, to make Rey the next icon of Star Wars, to make her or put her alongside Luke and Anakin, that everybody knows, that everybody recognizes, that everybody loves, that is Star Wars. And I think she realizes the sequel trilogy failed to do that for a lot of people, and I think she is willing to essentially risk it all or bet it all on the character of Rey. Because, if this fails, if they do go ahead with this big Rey plan, that the numbers aren't there at the box office, that virtually nobody goes and sees this trilogy, I think Star Wars is already kind of out of the spotlight, shall we say. It is off a lot of people's radar. A lot of people are just kind of done with Star Wars, or just there's so much of it, it's hard to keep up with, whatever it might be. And you have fans, of course, who are just done with it as well. But that could be the death blow. If you put out another trilogy and just nobody cares, relatively speaking, of course, it's still going to make hundreds of millions or $1 billion, whatever. But going all in on Rey could just pretty much be the end of it. And yet, that is what I think Kathleen Kennedy has in store for us. That's what I think her grand plan is. I talked about it in a video the other day, where I think this is her pitch to Disney. I think in order to keep her job, and we know her contract just expired, I think she went to Disney and said, "This is my plan to make you guys a lot of money, to be blunt about it. This is my plan to save Star Wars, to bring it to prominence. We have this character, Rey, who she probably told them a lot of people out there like, and sure, I'm sure Rey has her fans, no doubt. Yet at the same time, you're living in a state of delusion if you believe that there aren't a good number of fans, maybe even the majority of fans, that either do not like Rey or are indifferent towards her, just really don't care if we get any more Rey. Maybe they thought the sequels were fine, but the idea of a Rey trilogy, another Rey trilogy, just doesn't appeal to them." But yeah, I think this is all the idea of Kathleen Kennedy. I don't think this is them testing the waters to see how people react. I think this is what she really wants to do with Star Wars. And you could ask, why is Disney not a little wiser here? Why can't they look at the situation and say, well, she had a trilogy. It started out really well. You made $2 billion on the first movie, but by the time the trilogy ended, you made $1 billion. And that seems like it was going in the wrong direction. So why would we make more films when it was trending downward with this character? We also likely haven't heard a bunch of people asking for a Rey trilogy. It's not like there are videos on YouTube or people on social media being like, "Hey, can we get more Rey? Can we get a lot more Rey? We want a Rey trilogy." So it just seems like a really stupid decision, to be honest with you. But I think that's the one they're going with. I think this is all Kathleen Kennedy. I think she has somehow convinced them that she can bring this character to prominence and that Rey can lead Disney and Star Wars back to the promised land. I know a lot of people out there don't think it's ever going to happen, and I think that's a possibility for sure. I mean, we've had a lot of Star Wars projects announced that never happen, but I think she is going to make that happen. As long as she is the president of Lucasfilm, as long as she has the power, she will do everything in that power to make sure Rey becomes the character that she envisioned her to be 10 years ago or whatever when they conceived of her. This recent news we've heard that the Star Wars movie set for December of 2026 has been removed from the schedule does not mean the Rey movie has been canceled. I've seen so many people conflating the two, that, oh, that movie's gone now? Oh, that must mean the Rey movie has been canceled, or her trilogy is not happening, or that was all a bunch of BS. But all they really did was push the date back. That happens all the time with movies. This wasn't a cancellation of that. That is simply them saying, it's not going to be done by then, we need a new date. And I fully believe that, yes, Rey is what they think the future is, and that we are going to get a Rey movie, and that very likely the Simon Kinberg trilogy will also be a Rey trilogy. Alright, enough of me rambling on that one. Let's move to a similar question that comes to us from GG Blaster, who said or asked, "Hey Thor, hear me out for my crazy thought. Disney's fixation on Rey being in the next few projects actually makes sense for Disney. Rey was a big talking point among fans frustrated with the sequels, and she was supposed to be Disney's icon in the galaxy far, far away. She's supposed to be up there with Luke and Anakin, yet a man in a tin can and his little green kid became more iconic than her. I imagine Disney wants to give her time on the screen to hopefully show her in a better light, or in the hopes that people will simply see her in a better light. Whether that'll work out is another matter." And yeah, I totally agree with you that that is the plan, or that is the hope. I just don't know how many people give her that chance. Again, there are the casual fan, the average moviegoer, who likely will give Star Wars the benefit of the doubt and go see more films. Though I think there are still a lot of people who... Star Wars has really saturated the market over the last few years. Not on the movie front, obviously, but with Disney Plus shows. There's one or two every year. Star Wars doesn't feel as special anymore. The Star Wars that these people have watched, these kind of, again, casual fan, or that average person who just kind of watches Star Wars because that's what people do, I think they've kind of just lost interest. I don't think it's special anymore to them. They don't hear Star Wars and go, I gotta go see that. It's Star Wars, for crying out loud. There's just so much of it now. And again, a lot of what they watched has probably been average to them at best. And so I don't know that people are going to be like, oh, a new Rey movie is coming out. She was that character in that sequel trilogy that was okay. And while I've watched a few of the shows on Disney Plus and they were okay, I don't really think people rush to the theater to see this character again. And as for the fans, such as yourself here, who seems very skeptical about this idea, and the previous comment too, who said they're not going to go watch a Rey trilogy, I think a lot of fans are in that boat. I think a lot of them just don't care about a Rey trilogy. They want something different. Or they want to see Kennedy go on and just a whole kind of refresh of the Star Wars IP at this point, really. Another time and place, not the Skywalker saga again, not these characters that you've tried to pitch to us but just don't work. They want new and different. At least that's kind of how I feel about it right now. I just want to see Star Wars take a whole different direction. I mean, still be Star Wars, but do something new and different, freshen it up a little bit. Not saying you can't ever do anything related to the original trilogy and the original characters, or even the sequels if you really want to, but I think you need to kind of build a whole new time period. You tried with the sequels, it didn't work. You really need to try again, and maybe try a little harder and a little better and have a plan this time. But yeah, absolutely, they want to salvage Rey. They want her to be the next iconic character. But I don't think a lot of people are really going to give them that chance if this is the direction they're going to go. If it's really like, oh, 3 more Rey movies, okay. I might watch one, and if that one really doesn't hook me, I'm probably not watching the other 2, right? I think that's the attitude of, again, a lot of the average fans, and the attitude of a lot of hardcore fans is, I'm not giving this a chance at all. I'm not giving my money to Disney to make more of a character that I already told them I don't want more of. You're not listening to what we're asking for. You're not listening to your customers who have rejected this character. You're doubling down on them instead, and, well, I'm going to take my money and go watch something else. Alright, well, I think that's all I got for you this time, all the rambling I got for you this time. I should really rename these Thor's Thunderous Rambles, as some have said, because Lightning Takes is the way wrong name. They're never quick. But anyway, take to the comments below. Let me know what you think about my answers. Give your answers to these questions, or you can always ask a question for a future lightning response or thunderous ramble video. All you got to do, you just start your comment off by saying, "Hey Thor," so I can easily recognize you're asking me a question for a video. Then you ask your question, and perhaps I will answer it in a future video. But whatever the case may be, leave your comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.